What if a school bully picked on the wrong girl, one with a connection so powerful, it could turn everything upside down? This gripping, inspirational story follows Maya Williams, a quiet new student who finds herself targeted by Bryce Carter, the most feared guy in school. He thinks she's weak, an easy target, someone he can push around without consequence. But what he doesn't realize is that Maya has a secret, one that will flip the script in a way no one could have predicted. Stay until the very end, because what starts with a bully's arrogance, it ends with his downfall. Maya Williams stepped off the bus, gripping the straps of her backpack tightly as her eyes locked onto the enormous front entrance of Clearview High School in Houston, Texas. The crisp autumn air carried the scent of freshly cut grass mixed with pavement still radiating warmth from the lingering summer sun. Students bustled around in small groups, filling the space with chatter and laughter, their conversations casual, effortless. Yet, despite being surrounded by so many people, Maya felt utterly alone. This wasn't new to her. In fact, this was the fourth time in just 3 years that she had to start over at a brand new school. Some kids transferred because their parents landed new jobs, but Maya, she transferred because she needed yet another fresh start. Again, keeping her head low, she moved toward the entrance, hoping, praying to go unnoticed. A few students stole quick glances, their curiosity piqued by the unfamiliar face, but she avoided meeting their eyes. Clearview High wasn't anything special. A large suburban school filled with middle-class kids who had known each other since kindergarten. The football team was decent, the cheer squad ruled the social scene, and the hierarchy of popularity had been in place long before she ever set foot here. None of it mattered to Maya. She had one goal: to stay invisible. Inside, the hallway buzzed with energy. Lockers slammed shut, sneakers squeaked against the tiled floors, and teachers tried, and failed, to herd students into classrooms before the first bell. Maya moved through the crowd, gripping her schedule like a lifeline. She was used to this process, figuring out where to sit at lunch, locating her locker, and most importantly, identifying the kids she needed to avoid. And that's when she saw him. Bryce Carter. Tall, broad-shouldered, and carrying an effortless confidence that only the most popular, untouchable guys in high school seemed to possess. He leaned against a row of lockers, surrounded by a group of boys in Letterman jackets, each one laughing a little too hard at whatever he had just said. Even from a distance, Maya could sense his presence. He had the kind of power that made people either follow him or fear him. She had seen his type before. The golden boy. Star quarterback. Handsome. Wealthy family. But there was something else, something in the way the students around him reacted. Their laughter felt forced, their movements just slightly too cautious. The way they shifted their weight when he spoke. She knew that pattern well. He wasn't just popular, he was feared. Maya had no intention of drawing his attention, but fate had other plans. As she walked past, a sudden force slammed into her shoulder. Hard. This wasn't an accident. Her books slipped from her grasp, scattering across the hallway floor. Laughter rippled through the crowd. A few students stopped to watch, amused. Maya swallowed, bent down quickly, ignoring the sting of humiliation heating her cheeks. Well, what do we have here? That voice. Calm, yet dripping with amusement. But there was something else lurking beneath it. A sharpness. A predator sizing up its prey. She didn't need to look up to know. Bryce Carter. The chuckles from his friends behind him only confirmed it. Slowly, Maya raised her head. Bryce towered over her, arms crossed, a smirk on his face. The kind she had seen before on boys who knew they ran the school. "I don't think I've seen you before," he said, tilting his head slightly. "You knew." Maya didn't respond. She simply gathered her books, stood up, and brushed past him without a word. But Bryce. He wasn't done. "Hey!" he called after her, loud enough for the whole hallway to hear. "Where's your manners? I asked you a question." Maya kept walking. She knew this game. She had played it before. The best way to handle guys like him. Don't engage. But Bryce Carter wasn't used to being ignored. A sharp tug on her backpack yanked her back slightly. Not enough to hurt, Just enough to let her know he wasn't letting this go. Maya stopped. The hallway quieted. Even students who hadn't been paying attention before were now watching. Slowly she turned. Her eyes met Bryce's, and for the first time, something flickered in his gaze. Curiosity. Maybe even surprise. "You shouldn't have done that," Maya said, her voice low. Bryce raised an eyebrow, then let out a slow, mocking laugh. "Oh yeah." His smirk widened. "And why's that?" Maya didn't answer. She just held his gaze. Unflinching. Bryce studied her, then scoffed. "You're kinda weird, you know that?" His friends chuckled. But Maya? She simply turned and walked away. She didn't need to look back to know. This wasn't over. Bryce Carter wasn't finished with her yet. The rest of the day blurred together. Maya kept to the back of classrooms, speaking only when necessary, avoiding eye contact. She ate lunch alone, choosing a quiet spot near the edge of the cafeteria where she could observe without being observed. Bryce and his friends owned the lunchroom. Their table, the biggest, loudest, most dominant, sat in the center. And every so often, Maya felt his gaze flicker toward her. But he didn't make a move. Not yet. By the time the final bell rang, she was relieved to be free. The Houston heat made the pavement shimmer as she made her way toward the bus stop, reaching for her phone. "Hey, new girl," she sighed. Turning around, she found Bryce standing there, hands in his pockets, that same smirk plastered on his face. A few of his friends lingered behind him, watching. "What do you want?" she asked. Bryce stepped closer. "You got an attitude problem, you know that?" Maya just stared. His smirk deepened. "What? You think you're better than me?" Maya exhaled, then to his surprise laughed. Not nervously. Not fearfully. Just amused. And that threw Bryce off. "I think," she said slowly, "that you should walk away." Bryce's grin faltered. Just for a second. Then he recovered. "Oh yeah." He took another step, looming over her. "And why's that?" Maya leaned in slightly, voice barely above a whisper. "Because you have no idea who I am." Bryce let out a scoff. "Oh really? And who exactly are you?" Maya didn't respond. Instead, she lifted her phone, pressed a button. A deep, thunderous growl of an engine filled the air. A black Dodge Charger Hellcat pulled up to the curb. The kind of car that turned heads. The tinted window rolled down. Vin Diesel. Home, Maya sat on the couch, absently scrolling through her phone, her mind replaying the events of the day. Vin sat across from her, arms folded as he studied her expression. "He didn't like that, did he?" Vin finally said, his voice low but knowing. Maya shook her head. "Nope." Vin smirked. "Good." She glanced up, arching an eyebrow. "You think pissing him off is a good thing?" Vin leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "Guys like him. They expect fear. They feed off it. You took that away from him today. Now he's off balance. And an off-balance bully makes mistakes." Maya thought about that for a moment. Bryce had ruled the school unchecked for so long, using intimidation like a weapon. But today, for the first time, she had taken the power away from him without lifting a finger. That alone was worth the trouble. But she also knew Bryce wasn't done. Not by a long shot. The next morning, she walked into school prepared for whatever came next. But even she was surprised by what she saw. There, in the middle of the hallway, right by Bryce's usual spot, was a poster-sized photo of him. Only, instead of his usual confident, cocky smirk, the image had been edited. His face plastered onto a baby's body, pacifier in mouth with the words, "Bryce, the crybaby, Carter. King of tantrums." Laughter erupted as students crowded around, some taking pictures, others outright cackling. Bryce's face turned red as he tore the poster down. His fists clenched at his sides. His eyes darted around the hallway, searching for the culprit. And then they landed on Maya. She didn't flinch. Didn't smirk. Didn't say a word. She just tilted her head. Like Vin always did. Bryce took a step toward her, his jaw tight. You think this is funny, he hissed. Maya shrugged. I think it's fitting. Bryce's nostrils flared, but before he could say another word, a voice cut through the crowd. Yo, Carter! Everyone turned. And there he was. Not Vin Diesel this time, but someone else just as intimidating in the school. Jackson Reyes, Sr., 6'3", May trained. The one guy Bryce never messed with. Jackson strolled up, his eyes flickering between Bryce and Maya. Then he grinned. You messing with my cousin, bro? The crowd collectively gasped. Bryce blinked, his mouth opening slightly before he could stop it. Cousin. Maya folded her arms, finally letting a small smirk creep onto her lips. Did I forget to mention that? She said, voice laced with mock innocence. Bryce clenched his jaw so hard, she thought his teeth might crack. Maya just patted him on the shoulder as she walked past. Better luck next time, Bryce.